Good evening. We are joined this evening by somebody, and I'm a bit embarrassed when I really like somebody. I really love this guy. I watch him every Saturday morning. It is the star of BBC News, star of BBC Sport. It's the one and only Mike Bushell, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you
Hello,
so
everybody.
much for joining us, Mike.
Pleasure.
Have you had a good day so far?
Yeah, not bad. So looking at the start of football and all the different things that are going on in terms of how it's going to look, what atmospheres clubs can create. The countdown's on now to Wednesday in the first Premier League match, and then the Championship is starting next Saturday.
Is it Wednesday, the first game, though?
Yeah, that's it. And the golf's back underway already. There's been some athletics with people competing remotely with the people in the stadium in Norway. So, yeah, it's all starting to happen again. So it's getting really busy again now.
What's it been like for you? Obviously, you cover, that's your world, and then suddenly it closes down. What's your world been like the last couple of months?
Well, actually, it changed a lot, but it's still enough to keep us busy. First of all, there was all the things that people were doing at home to keep fit.
Yeah.
Whether it was inventing games indoors or doing things on Zoom, exercise classes, or just using the gym and the sofa as a workout place to get fitter, using online courses, whether it be Max Whitlock, the Olympian, or whether they were finding fun new ways to get fit, whether it be using frying pans and pots and pans around the kitchen to invent kitchen tennis with a ping pong ball, or going for more walks and runs. And so there was all those things to keep us busy, first of all, and the rise of people learning how to use Zoom and doing exercises and what they normally do online. I did a virtual run with a running group from Chippenham, where everybody run and then they'd gather at the end to compare notes. So that was really good to report on. And then it was about what football clubs were doing, what the communities were doing to help. There was the Mums That Run group that mums can run in Bristol, where they couldn't do their normal runs together. So they started running prescriptions around to the people that needed them, so they didn't have to go to the chemists. And all these positives came out. So there's enough sort of sporting stories around that. And of course, all the way through, there's been when and how could sport return? How long does it be off? So I haven't really stopped being on air. What we've been doing has been very different in terms of I don't sit on the BBC Breakfast sofa at the moment. I'm 2 floors down, so I don't physically have any contact with Charlie or Naga. As I said, there's this distance between us and with everybody at work. So that's been a very different way of working. It's a self-op camera. You're just on your own with the camera and starting to roll on auto cue sometimes as well. So that's been very different. But it's worked and it's kept everyone going. And it's been getting busy again now, but it never really stopped completely. It got quieter at one point. We didn't know when sport was going to come back, but there's been the business of sport, of course, as well, and just how it's almost been a level playing field. Premier League stars connecting much more with the communities and the fans. Khan in Bolton going out and delivering food to frontline NHS workers and those that need it the most in the community. So that's been brilliant to see, because at the end of the day, we're all in the same boat. Whether you're a wealthy Premier League star or not, it's been a real leveller.
Yeah, absolutely.
But either kept us going as it was. Tyrone Ming said at Aston Villa, said once everything's stripped away, it's the key workers like the nurses, the doctors, and the teachers that have kept the country going. Really.
Yeah, we've all learned to do things very differently. It's lots of Zoom calling and emails, and it's just a very, very strange way of living, isn't it? I'm ready for a bit of normality, I think, a new normality. Yeah. Mike, I was doing my research earlier on, and I was a little bit shocked, if I'm totally honest. You have what might be described as a bit of an eclectic set of skills. You have done lots of different things. Is it right that you set your first newspaper up at 8 years old? Is that true?
Yeah, it is. You see, well,
wow.
They will say give you a child at 7, and they'll give you the adults. There's that documentary series that's been running for years and years. And so when people say, what did you want to be when I was growing up? Well, I didn't really know, because maybe 11, 12, I would maybe thought, we'll work with animals. I was really shy. But then going back further, when I was 7, I had a duplicator and a typewriter it shows how long we go back. It was way before the internet or computers. And that was my pride and joy, this typewriter and a duplicator. And I used to make my little magazine newspapers called the Daily Owl.
Wow.
And used to cycle around every Wednesday or every other Wednesday sometimes and deliver 8 copies of it to friends who pay a penny. So the subscription of the Daily Owl was a penny. Sorry, it was 8 people. But the trouble was I kept giving Christmas presents away as prizes.
I read this. I read this. What's this about the Christmas present?
Yeah, I got a Leeds United shirt, and a Leeds United fan at one Christmas just got it, and I gave it away the next week. This was a village in Hertfordshire, in Stevenage. And my mum said, "We keep giving away all your stuff." and in the end, it withered after that.
Did I read somewhere that you gave it away as a prize in your newspaper?
That's right, yeah, the prize in the Daily Owl. I ran lots of competitions, as well as the village news, sport, the weather. I used to on my FA Cup final day, used to put the latest score up in the window on bits of paper, even though the only people would see it would be someone walking past, or a cat or something, as they were going past. But I suppose then, I didn't really realise, but that's where the roots for journalism maybe came from. Yeah. But then for years and years, I went through school not having much confidence, being very shy, until when I was about 14, a teacher persuaded me to play Willie Mossop in Hobson's Choice, and it took a lot of persuading. And I'd say to anybody, if someone tells you to do something, be in a play like that, just take the chance, because it really was life-changing. And after that, you gain confidence with drama, and you gain a lot of communication skills and confidence, and that really was life-changing going forward into whatever you do.
Is it right that you took your tape recorder to school events?
Yeah. I think it then sort of 15, 16, it tapped back into the Daily Owl gene in me again, because I used to take a tape recorder on the bus, and it got discovered one day. I was recording in classes, and the biology teacher found it. I thought I'd be in trouble, but then when they realised I'd made a whole sort of hour-long documentary on a day in the life of school, and it was all quite positive on the bus in the morning. The alarm going off, first of all, in the bus, getting to school lessons, the banter that goes on at lunchtime. It made an hour-long documentary. Editing was a bit primitive in those days, but they actually played it in assembly in the end, in Harrogate, where I was at school. So, yeah, from not being in trouble, it was actually applauded. So that was another thing I was obsessed with, taking my tape recorder everywhere and just recording daily life. And anybody trying to get into journalism, I think that's the key thing. You just got to have a passion. You just got to have a nosy streak of interest.
I wanted to ask you that because you're a sports, a very, very well-respected, well-known, brilliant sports, reporter, and you're at the top of your game. You're working for arguably the best television company in the world. Everyone is still the gold standard.
Yeah.
How do you get to that point? For anybody watching, our things about daring to dream. How do you get to? Because somebody an 8-year-old. You're watching this and you're thinking, I'm never going to do that. But you were that 8-year-old. You had your newspaper, you got your tape recorder. But there are so many people that want to do your job. It's such a competitive industry. How did you get to there? What advice would you give?
Yeah, it's a long and winding road, really. If you've got the passion and enthusiasm, that'll carry you a long way, because as you get older, you get a chance to do it at college and university, or even at school. You get the chance to work on the school magazine or any school publication. It's probably online now, of course, isn't it? An online publication. And so anything you can do like that, away from any course you do, or media course or English course, is so valuable, just to show that passion. As you get older, when you're 14, 15, go and work on hospital radio, local newspapers, volunteer. That's what I did, and just get involved. I was lucky enough at college, there was a TV station there, very primitive one, but it just gives you the experience, and it shows the passion. And once you've got that passion, it never sort of really stops. And then you take a lot of knocks along the way. So I worked, after I left, I'm doing drama at college. It wasn't university, it was just college. I then joined the local newspaper and did a couple of years there. Then joined a rock band for a few years, but that didn't really go anywhere. So I came back to a different newspaper. And then eventually through newspapers, they're a great grounding because they give you training in journalism. And then you stand a good chance of getting into local radio or local TV. But now there's so many more opportunities. With the internet, you can do YouTubing. My daughter actually started doing that. Izzy Bushell, she got her own little YouTube channel. Only got 187 subscribers, but she loves doing it. And it gives her great skills at presenting. She gets presenting practice every day when she's doing it just on her own in a shed. I think she does it, and then she gets the editing equipment on her computer and edits them all together. And it's that sort of thing that will stand you out from the rest. Not just doing a media course, but doing all that extra stuff, staying up all night sometimes just to edit this little piece. You've got to have that passion, that enthusiasm, and then have a thick skin. And don't try and be anyone else. Just be yourself. And the great thing is now accents are really approved of and popular. A few years ago, you had to sort of have a certain way of speaking. Now, I think it's great that accents are embraced and cherished because they're so important, regional accents, and so that's not a problem anymore. It's really just be yourself and have confidence. You'll get knockbacks and pushbacks. I was told that my face would be too small. The features on my face were too small for TV.
No.
Yeah, so you get all that sort of thing. If you believe in yourself and have the dream, Just keep going, keep going, keep going. It'll take a long time. You won't get rich, but it will be a great fun job to do, and it's just amazing because you can do sport, you can do news, you can do environment, business. There's all sorts of things you can report on and be a journalist in. It doesn't have to be just news. I love sport, obviously. Never very good at sport, but I always had a passion for it. And if you know a subject, then that helps you become a journalist in it.
It's not the kind of industry, in most dreams, you're not just going to wake up the next morning and land on the BBC sofa, and going and doing all these things. Your hard work started at 8. It may have even started sooner. You put the graft in for all that time, and it was still carrying on when you were doing your reporting at 15 or 16 with your tape recorder. And that's kind of what we want to tell our children. It's not going to suddenly happen. You don't set up your YouTube channel and get, even getting 100 followers on YouTube is a big achievement. And
it is,
isn't it? There's so much out there.
And just there's so much around you. Just get yourself, I don't know what it is now, what do people use? I suppose phones rather than a tape recorder. And you can just walk along any street and you can almost like commentate to yourself just on what you're seeing. And it's great fun to do, and just look around you and say, oh, there's a little robin bird, or there's a bird eating some seed, or there's a pigeon, and just respond to what's happening around you, and open your eyes to what's happening, and you can get practice just as simple as that. Some of the great commentators started like that as well. They just literally commentate hours and hours and hours, not on sport, but just what's happening around them.
Well, Greg James, I think, used to just DJ in his bedroom. I'm sure that I've heard that played quite a few times.
And there's so much more opportunity now with the internet, and there's so many apps out there. You've got GarageBand or whatever you can play, and there's microphones you can on your computer or just on people's phones or iPads. You can get all sorts of ways you can enhance your editing skills, video skills.
What's the best bit of advice that anybody's given you? Is there something that stands out that somebody else has just said a wise word in your ear?
Just be yourself and put all the energy in and all the work you can in. Just follow your dream, but it's got to be something you're interested in. There's no point doing it if you think it's a chore or if it's a hassle or it feels like work. Just follow your passions and just put all the hours in, and that'll be your best chance. And just get inspired by it and have fun.
I've got to ask you, you've done at the last check-in, I believe that you've done over 560 sports. What are we up to?
Yeah, we're about 500. Just before lockdown, it was about 562. But this has been a real passion of mine. It started in 2006 when I felt there was a problem in sport, because a lot of people would say, especially youngsters, that they didn't do sport because they weren't very good. They felt rubbish. They were embarrassed to be rubbish. And that was a big barrier. And see, myself, I was pretty rubbish at school. I never really got in the football team or the rugby team, or left on the boundary in the cricket if I ever got on. But I loved sport and I wanted to be involved. And so in 2006, I thought, well, what else is out there for people to embrace? And then I saw these husky dogs, bizarrely, racing through a forest near Reading with people on chariots on wheels. There was no snow. It was the British Sled Dog Racing Association weekly meet. And I went into the forest, and there's all these dogs in these vans, some in jacuzzis. And this was people's passion. Whole families were there doing it from all over the country. And this was their sport. I thought, well, if that's out there, what else is out there? And so I started consulting viewers, and viewers started suggesting things. And they kept coming and kept. I thought it'd go on about 6 weeks, and then 6 years, 12 years. Now I think it's 14 years.
14 years, is that what you've been doing?
I was lucky at the time, because at the time it started, the average number of school sports was only 2 or 3. Now it's 17 or 18. There's all sorts of new sports: crazy catch, chook ball, rocket ball, ultimate frisbee, all these new sports that have come along. A lot of them invented to try and target the non-sporty kids or adults, the people that are on the fringes, because to make sport more inclusive, like rocket ball, where there's 5 balls involved at the time, so everyone gets a chance. And I think we've gone back to the essence of sport, which is it's play. It's in our natural instinct to play with each other. When you're children rolling around on the floor, in the lounge, wrestling and whatever you're doing, jumping off the sofa. Sport should be about play and having fun with your friends, and that's what I wanted to get back to. Yes, for the elite, it's going to be competitive and they take it very seriously, but for the vast majority of us, it should be a way of having fun, having a laugh with your friends, not being worried about being rubbish or embarrassed, not seeing those as barriers, but putting a smile on your face, getting social interaction, combating loneliness, getting out there, and also getting fitter at the same time. And through all of these different sports, hopefully that's what I've managed to do. I wanted to broaden the sporting church. And luckily, the change in society went on along with me as well. Well, we sort of paralleled each other. So the two things happened in sync, which was lucky. But yes, and so there's so many sports out there now. There is definitely a sport for all, and no reason for anybody not to get fit or active. Even if it's dog dancing, there's so many weird ones. Worm charming. I mean, I've seen so many examples of sports changing people's lives that you'd never think were possible.
So what's the most dangerous sport that you've ever took part in?
Oh, well, probably. I suppose some of the pieces we looked at were looking at the sports stars. So it was maybe not the ones that are sort of the most accessible, like sidecar racing, where you're literally on a tray at the side of a motorbike going 160 miles an hour, holding on to just a pole. That was pretty scary.
Have you ever hurt yourself?
I only fell off a horse trying to do show jumping because I don't really ride horses.
This scared me.
I gave it the wrong signals and I cleared 3 meters, but not on a horse, not over a fence.
Wow.
But I was fine. It was on mulch, soft mulch, and actually skateboarding can be quite treacherous. So always wear a helmet. I was wearing a helmet and I still got a headache when I did a flip and landed on my head. But again, I wasn't really experienced enough because you have to start slowly and build up slowly with skateboarding.
What's the most exhilarating sport that you've had? You know, the one that you got off and your adrenaline was like, oh, this is amazing.
Well, I think something like water skiing or something.
Yeah.
Or on the water, I love the water. There's so many simple things you can do. Actually, water skiing is very accessible from a young age. You can pick that up pretty easily, just a couple of lessons, and it's great fun, great way of getting fit. There's so many clubs around the country, and you get a real sense of speed, but it's relatively safe. And actually dancing, I think, from Strictly Come Dancing days and before that, actually, street dance, there's so many forms of dance you can do now. And before, I never really realised how physical it was. And that can be so exhilarating because not only are you moving in a funny way to music, at sometimes great speed, with a partner around the dance floor, but you've got the music as well, and by the end, you feel so elated if it's gone right. But it's probably one of the most difficult sports I've tried because you have to be so physically fit. The Strictly Come Dancing professionals are right up there with any top athlete, any top boxer, any top footballer in terms of their endurance, their physical fitness, their strength, their agility, and their mental agility as well.
How did you find Strictly? We had Dr. Ranj on. I've got to know Karim a little bit, and they get so excited, and you're doing it now. Yeah. Their eyes light up, and you see this like energy. And what was
it's the hardest? It's the hardest thing I've ever done in terms of you doing 12-hour days. Your bones ache, your legs ache, muscles ache everywhere, and mentally you feel exhausted because you start at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning. You're still there at 9, 10 at night, and you're desperate to go home. And you think, oh, I've got to get up again in a few hours' time and go through it all again. And Katia was a brilliant teacher because she can get non-dancers like myself to do quite complicated and difficult routines. That's her aim. But she does it through hard work and what she calls positive aggressiveness.
Right.
So she will drill into you. She'll get you to do it again and again and again, repeat it. Quite tough, but that's what I needed. But at the time, when you're in the thick of it, at first it's mind-boggling because you're aching, you're exhausted, you're trying to remember things, and you feel there's no way I can get through another week. But then gradually it gets a bit easy. The soles of your feet start getting a little bit less sore. The calves stop aching as much. The thighs stop aching. The shoulders.
Do your feet literally get sore? You're dancing that much?
Oh yeah, it's the muscle at the back of your calf, which is linked to the balls of the feet. But the balls of the feet feel like they're on fire, and you feel like, oh, I can't walk on them. But it's all linked to the calf muscle.
How did you feel when you went on that? Leading up the half an hour leading up to going out dancing. You're used to stepping out in front of all these people as a reporter. How did it feel? How did you feel? How did you cope with that?
Oh, everyone says it's the most terrifying thing. Whatever you've done in the past, to be World Cups like David James or Olympics James Cracknell, whatever it may have been, they say that's one of the most terrifying things they've ever done. Because but the way Strictly's done it's very clever. It eases you into it slowly. So you have about a month to get to know everybody with the group dance. So you've got the safety of group numbers first of all. And then you get 2 weeks for that first dance with your partner. And because you put so much work in and you run it hundreds of times, that dance, and it's only a minute and a half, you should be fine, even if, like it happens to all of us, you get to those few seconds when they're announcing the dance and you forget everything in your mind. Then you just look at your partner, take a deep breath, and as long as that first step lands, then the rest should follow because it's been drilled into you. And there have been cases, of course, when people have forgotten where they are in the past and just walked around, but thankfully I didn't want that to happen to me, and it didn't. It's those first few seconds. Once you got those out of the way, it goes by in a flash, and you're just focused in the moment. You can hear the crowd, but you don't really take too much notice. You try and block it all out, like a lot of athletes, I guess. So,
and you got pretty fit doing that. I've seen the before and after pictures, Mike.
Yeah, I lost 1.5 stone.
Yeah,
and it shows how
I've seen.
it is because, and I've run all my life and played tennis and played football, but I've never lost weight like with dancing. It is the best form of weight loss I've ever seen. And I was eating as much as ever. It wasn't like I was on a strict diet or anything. I still enjoyed, a couple of pints and stuff with beer, and it wasn't a change of lifestyle. It was purely dancing for that length of time. It was brilliant for the burn off.
Wow. Do you want to read your story? I've got loads of questions. I will let you go shortly.
Sure.
Do you mind reading your story? Because otherwise we'll run out of time. And I know you've got more to do afterwards. I'm going to take myself off the screen because I know it's a bit weird for you because you can't see it. And then I said to Dr. Ranj on Wednesday, it's a bit weird for you because you're going to read your story effectively to me as a grown adult. But I promise there are lots of people watching.
Oh, that's lovely. And it's been a while since my children have grown up, really. Well, the youngest is Sophie's 17. Yeah, 17, Izzy's 20, nearly 21, and Lucy's 23. So it's been a long time since I've read a bedtime story. But I used to all the time. So if I go on to the story, am I going to go off the screen?
No, you'll stay there, but I will disappear, and I'll be watching patiently, and then I'll jump back in at the end, if that's okay.
Right. Well, I love the choice of story.
We thought it was appropriate.
Is Giraffes Can't Dance, and I feel that relates to me on Strictly very, very much indeed, because when I joined, I certainly couldn't dance, but it's a tale of overcoming adversity. So this is a lovely story if you haven't heard it before. If you have, I'm sure you'll love to hear it again. So it's the giraffe who couldn't dance, basically. So Gerald is the giraffe we're talking about. Gerald was a tall giraffe whose neck was long and slim, but his knees were awfully crooked and his legs were rather thin. He was very good at standing tall and munching leaves off trees, but when he tried to move around, he buckled at the knees. Oh dear, moving on to the next page. Now, every year in Africa, they hold the jungle dance, where every single animal takes turns to skip and prance. And this year, when the day arrived, poor Gerald, well, he felt so sad, because when it came to dancing, he really was very bad. Yes, I know the feeling. See, the warthogs started waltzing. The rhinos rock and rolled. The lions danced a tango, which was really elegant and bold, certainly a 10. The chimps all did a cha-cha-cha with a very Latin feel. And 8 baboons then teamed up for a splendid Scottish reel. Gerald swallowed bravely as he walked towards the floor. But the lions saw him coming, and they soon began to roar. Hey, look at clumsy Gerald, the animals all sneered. Giraffes can't dance, you silly fool. Oh, Gerald, you're so weird. Gerald simply froze up. He was rooted to the spot. Yeah, they're right, he thought. I'm useless. Oh, I feel such a clot. So he crept off from the dance floor and he started walking home. He'd never felt so sad before, so sad and so alone. Then he found a little clearing and he looked up to the sky. The moon can be so beautiful, he whispered with a sigh. Excuse me, coughed a cricket, who'd seen Gerald earlier on. But sometimes when you're different, you just need a different song. Listen to the swaying grass and listen to the trees. To me, the sweetest music is those branches in the breeze. So imagine that the lovely moon is playing just for you. Everything makes music, if you really want it to. With that, the cricket smiled and picked up his violin. Then Gerald felt his body do the most amazing thing. His hooves had started shuffling, making circles on the ground. His neck was gently swaying and his tail was swishing round. He threw his legs out sideways and then he swung them everywhere. And then he did a backward somersault and leapt up in the air. Whoa, Gerald felt so wonderful. His mouth was open wide. I am dancing, yes, I'm dancing, Gerald cried. Then one by one, each animal who'd been there at the dance arrived while Gerald boogied on and watched him. Quite entranced, they shouted, it's a miracle. We must be in a dream. Gerald is the best dancer that we've ever seen. how did you learn to dance like that? Please, Gerald, tell us how. But Gerald simply twirled around and finished with a bow. Then he raised his head and looked up at the moon and stars above. We all can dance, he said, when we find music that we love. The end. But that is so true. So many phrases in that book, were said on Strictly. I remember Bruno saying it's a miracle, I think, when I did my quick step. And Katia believes that we can all dance. She always says that it is just walking in a different way, in a funny way to music. And if you feel you can't dance, you're just dancing to the wrong tune. You need to find a different tune, and it'll inspire you to just do your own thing to music. And that's a dance. That could be a dance. Freestyle. It's just moving in your own way, expressing yourself to music is the most wonderful exercise as well.
Totally agree.
That's a really poignant story.
That was absolutely brilliant. That felt so appropriate, and I love the message behind it. Mike, you absolutely smashed it. Thank you so much.
I loved it. Great choice of story. I'd heard of it before, but I hadn't come across it. I've never actually read it before.
Great intonation and control of your voice. The professionalism was shining through. Now, that really was brilliant. Thank you so much. I've got a few questions. I'm sure you get asked a lot about sport. So we're going to get to the things that really matter. Yeah, I want you to, what would you prefer, a burger or chicken nuggets?
Well, good question. I think chicken nuggets, actually. I've never been that keen on burgers. So chicken nuggets.
I'm totally with you on that.
Ketchup.
I was going to ask your favourite dip if you were to go to McDonald's, but other retailers are available. What dip would you go for? Would it be ketchup?
Yes, it would, yeah.
Good choice. Sorry, I know this is a bit random, but it's the things that I'm sure the kids want to know.
I love these questions.
You're at the ice cream shop. You're in the queue. You're allowed 2 scoops. What do you go for?
Oh, black currants and strawberry. Fruit are very fruity.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're allowed a syrup thing on top. Or would you finish it off with anything?
Yes, honey, probably.
I'm so sorry. You're such a professional. I'm asking you your favourite ice cream.
That's great.
I don't know if you get any time to watch Netflix and BBC iPlayer and other things and binge watch. What was the last programme that you binge watched?
Actually, like a lot of people, it was probably Tiger King, the documentary about the Tiger Man in America. Also Killing Eve, but obviously they're sort of more adult programmes on BBC iPlayer. But those 2 things have been the most recent. I also love the 2 documentaries, the Sunderland one and the Leeds United Take Me Home, which was the documentary of their season. That's on Amazon. Yeah, Sunderland Till I Die and Leeds United to Take Me Home. I've watched both of those. Quite
an insight, isn't it? You were in a rock band, so I don't know what you're going to choose, but do you have a favourite band and or a favourite song?
Oh, wow, yeah. So many bands.
I couldn't choose, to be fair.
Sorry? Yeah, I'd probably say it was going back a bit now, OMD and Enola Gay.
Okay, good, strong choices. Outside of the UK, your favourite city or favourite place?
Barcelona. So much going on.
Good choice.
There's the football team. It's a great city. Lots of culture, lots of architecture, but most of all, the football and the beaches.
Great choice. If you won the lottery tomorrow and it is a rollover, how would you spend? Imagine that they've got fast transfer. You've got the money in your account Sunday morning. What would that next couple of days look like, Mike Bushell?
Oh my goodness, I'd be in shock. I'd consult a lot of people, family and friends, and want them to share it around to take the pressure off, really. I'd probably go to favourite charities, but also maybe just somewhere sunny, get a little place somewhere sunny, maybe Cornwall, get a little flat, and then the rest of it, I couldn't cope with it, I must admit.
It would be a bit weird. Can I ask you a genuine question? I reckon in your life you've had loads of really cool moments where, I said to you, I did BBC Bite Size. I'll be honest, I always say to people, the moment where you ring your mum and dad and you'll go, you'll never guess what. You'll never guess what. And I genuinely, when I did the BBC Bite Size, for me, it was really cool. I felt really lucky and it was really special. I felt very, fortunate. Is there a moment, or more than one, that stands out that you look back and you think, wow, that was cool. I felt really lucky. That was just a really brilliant moment.
Oh yeah, so many moments, so many moments. It's really wow. I think covering lots of different sports stories and lots of sporting events has been so lucky to do that. There's been things like the Winter Paralympics in Canada, and you're watching a sledge hockey match between Canada and America. That was just the atmosphere there was pretty cool. Covering a lot of Olympics, you don't tend to go to actually necessarily a lot of events because you're doing bulletins just outside. So it's great being there. But I think the coolest thing that I did was the Commonwealth Games in Australia because of the way it was set up. Our studio was the beach, and so every day all the athletes would come down to the beach after they won gold for either England, Scotland, Northern Ireland or Wales. And then there were moments where the whole gymnast team was there on the beach and they'd just won gold. And they all started doing backflips on the sand going down the Gold Coast with the sea there. And also Tom Daly and me wading into the water just at the end of our broadcast. And Tom Bosworth doing his walking technique up the sand. So having all of those athletes on the beach during the Commonwealth Games, it was going out live on breakfast. So it was 3:30, 4:30 over in Australia time, but it was 6:30, 7:30, 8:30 in the morning GB time. And of course that did culminate with the fall into the swimming pool when the swimmers were late because of traffic. They were held up in traffic, so it got diverted to a swimming pool. And I arrived there just in the nick of time, but of course I only had one microphone and they were sitting in what I thought was a child's pool. But of course, as I stepped in, literally at the last minute to interview them, I didn't notice that there was a deep bit. So I fell in the pool, but that went viral and that became a big hit on the Greg James show. And that was a bit of a moment, even though at the time it didn't feel that great. In the moments that followed, it was good. It turned out well in the end.
I have watched that. It was viewed apparently 11 million times in one day.
Yeah, that first day. Well, I got back to the beach to do the next hour because it was only 6:30 in the morning or 3:30 in the afternoon Australian time. And so the security guard on the beach had heard about it already just on social media, the Australian security guard. And then you just couldn't turn on an Australian TV station without it appearing that day. It was quite embarrassing, but it was fine.
Do you know what, Mike? I've really enjoyed hearing about all these things. You epitomise the whole Dare to Dream thing, which is very, very genuine.
Oh, you definitely do. I mean, absolutely. I was never a sports person. I was never confident. Just grew up with my parents in a flat in Stevenage. Wasn't anything glamorous or anything. Went to a big comprehensive. Didn't actually get very good O levels. Didn't get to university. Went to a college. But more importantly than that, it was believing and dreaming and doing the things outside of school and college that really made it. If you follow your passion and put the hours in with what you've got around you, that will stand you in such good stead.
I feel like I've name dropped Dr. Ranj. He's like my new, I loved him the other day, and he said,
brilliant. He's lovely.
He's such a nice man, and he said something on Wednesday that's really resonated, and I've thought about it a lot. He said his key was have a dream, work hard, and there was a third one, and this definitely applies to you. Be kind to people. Just be nice.
Oh, absolutely.
And that, I've
because always listen to people when they tell you advice. Definitely be kind to all of those around you, because you never know when you might meet them again in life. And it's not just about that, though, that you'll get a good feeling from that as well.
And that is, I follow you on Twitter. You do all sorts of lovely things. You said yes to coming on this straight away.
Of course.
Mike, I want to finish.
The brilliant school that you've got and the brilliant teachers, and to, even though I can't see them, to connect with the parents and the pupils, the amazing students you've got there.
We're very lucky.
We're amazing, very
lucky. Mike, my mum watches every night without fail, and she's put, "What a lovely man, thank you." And she's put her hands together.
Thanks,
Mike, you are an absolute. You know what? I've not been disappointed at all. I was very excited about tonight. You have not disappointed. You are totally inspirational. You are brilliant at what you do. Please, everybody else, put some nice comments on there. So, Mike, if you get a chance to look back, thank you so much, Mike. You are absolutely
it was a great
lovely.
choice. It was a really good choice of story here. It was brilliant. It was fantastic. So apt, and actually, it taught me a lot about attitudes and dancing, and it was so resonant. Honestly, some of those phrases, I think the judges must have read down strictly. Katia might have done. Just shows what you can achieve. You can achieve your dreams, doesn't it?
Totally.
Don't feel you're embarrassed to do something. Just do it.
Thank you so much. What a note. I'm going to click on finish, and then I'm going to say thank you off camera if you don't mind, Mike.
Of course.
Just I'm being genuine. It's not because the camera's on.
Bye, everybody.
Right, we'll see you all later, everybody. See you tomorrow, same time again tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be on breakfast at 6 o'clock in the morning if anybody's up.
4 a.m. start. See you tomorrow, everybody.